And we're live. Welcome to Music Matters with Jason Tramm, and thank you so much for joining us for our unique podcast community. And we've been growing steadily. Thank you so much to all of you who've been subscribing and watching our content. Reminder, please remember to subscribe on YouTube and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on our upcoming guests and topics. As of today, we have 1,896 subscribers, and we grow every day thanks to people like you. We have a wonderful guest today. We've got Jason D. Begley, who is the Canadian singer-songwriter, composer, and producer who explores the many varieties of contemporary music. You'll find fusion of 60s rock, symphonic rock, garage rock, synth pop, progressive alternative, and many, many other styles. A truly interesting artist, and we're delighted he can join us. Welcome, Jason Begley.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
How are things in the Toronto area tonight?
Well, there have been fireworks for the past few days. You know, the Canada Day festivities, and it's been pretty noisy lately.
Same here in New Jersey and New York. We have fireworks. Tonight's a big fireworks night too. So as soon as we end this podcast, the fireworks will be shooting off in my backyard as well.
Oh yeah.
Well, did you always know you wanted to be an artist?
I think so. I think it all started so I'm an Elvis impersonator too, but that's another story. But my dad was an Elvis impersonator when I was a kid. So like I kind of was exposed to all of that music like through osmosis. Like when he would listen to the songs like to practice, right? Like to learn the songs. Like I would catch on to them, and I would start singing along too. And then like my dad, you know, I guess he got dollar signs in his eyes or whatever, and thought, oh wow, he can sing them on key. I'm gonna bring him with me to my next show. And then so yeah, I started performing when I was like 3 or 4, and everything else just kind of snowballed from there.
When did you start playing the guitar and the piano?
Oh yeah, I started getting guitar lessons, I think, when I was about, I want to say 8 or 9. I was, yeah, I think that's right. When I was about 8 or 9, and I started writing my first songs at around the same time. I kind of taught myself how to play piano. Like I realized that certain shapes make chords. Like I'm not the best piano player, but I can do it enough to like accompany myself.
It's always amazing how like it fits differently on the piano like it does on the guitar, and different accompaniment patterns certainly work differently on the instruments as well. So it gives you more options as a songwriter, right?
Yeah.
What were your first songs about?
Yeah. The very first song I wrote was about a girl in my class that I had a crush on when I was like 7 or 8.
A tale as old as time, right?
Yeah. It's funny, like, and it's funny, and like the teacher, like I guess the teacher who was teaching my class heard about the song, and they wanted to play it for the class. Like I don't know whether or not it it was like they were trying to show an example of how, like, look, this student is being creative, or if they wanted to humiliate me, but oh well.
Like, you know what? Whenever people discover that someone's got talent, it's always some kids may tease, but it's like people learn to respect that pretty quickly. Do you find that?
Yeah, I remember when I was super young, I kind of did use like my musicality as sort of like a parlor trick.
Yeah. Did you sing in choir as well, or did you always singing Elvis and rock and roll?
By the time I went to high school, I was part of a performing arts program where like the requirement of being in the program was you had to join the choir. So yeah, I sang in my high school choir for a few years. So like I got a taste of like ensemble singing as well, which is a completely different thing than like solo singing.
It really is, but it's good for your ear. It's great to train the ears to listen to tune and to blend and really focus on your intonation, certainly.
Yeah, yeah. But
that's one of the things I do is I teach choir at a university, so that's a special thing for me.
I'll tell you what, I think like if I had advice for singers who are really accustomed to lead vocals, like joining a choir, like it like when you eventually record your own songs, it makes you really good at doing backup vocals. You know?
Good point. And how often do you sing backup vocals on your own albums?
Whenever I can.
No one blends better than you do with yourself, right?
Mm.
Now, who are some of your influences besides Elvis, of course? Who are some of your influences growing up?
I was also a very big fan of the Beatles, still am, and the Guess Who, another Canadian band. Basically, whatever my dad had on the radio, I was listening to it as well, and I really enjoyed a lot of it. So like definitely like Herman's Hermits, and like the Swinging Blue Jeans and the Zombies, like all that '60s stuff is really left an impression on me.
Tell us about the first time you went to the studio. How old were you the first time you went to the studio to record?
The first time I went to a recording studio, I was I think I was 11 or 12, and like my dad and I were like writing songs together for me to perform, and it's funny because like we always had like a setup in our basement that had SoundForge on it. That's one really old software for the dinosaurs to recognize. Like, and we had this computer that had SoundForge on it, and we had our mixing console hooked up to the computer. And so, like, by the time I was like in a real studio for real, I was kind of right at home. And
nothing like growing up in it, right? Having a father in the business and kind of learning it on the job, and that's really exciting. Do you still perform with your father ever?
My dad is retired. And I mentioned before that my dad was an Elvis impersonator, and also so am I. In fact, I took over the family business basically. Like I'm the Elvis now.
You're going to be the young Elvis, I assume, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Gotta be young Elvis, yeah.
like before the army and a little bit after is what I do.
I'm going to ask you, since I've never had an Elvis impersonator on the show. I've had lots of other things, but never an Elvis impersonator. What makes Elvis so enduringly popular?
That's an impossible question. I think what made Elvis enduringly popular is the same thing that makes any brilliant entertainer enduringly popular, because like not a lot of entertainers had the charisma that Elvis did, and because you know Elvis had the voice and the looks and the and he could like effortlessly entertain a crowd, and and like I think that's timeless, and like I think that's why he went down in history as such an enduring entertainer.
And how many times have you watched the videos that survive and listened to the tracks? I mean, how does one become an Elvis? Tell us about like learning that music. It's so famous, and the people you sing for like know every word to every song.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I watch, like if I'm preparing for a show, like I listen to the I listen to the music. I try to absorb it. Like I watch the films that he did, like Loving You and Jailhouse Rock are really good films that I watch, you know, to get into character, like to try to like absorb the Elvisness of it, you know.
That's fascinating. And how many gigs do you do, like a month or a year? How many Elvis jobs do you do?
Once per week usually.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you gotta, so must have some great costumes.
Mm.
Well, that's fantastic. Now you said now you perform as a solo singer songwriter currently, but you also have a band as well.
I actually don't have a band yet for my own solo stuff, but I do play in other bands where I also write songs and we play together.
That's really handy, and it's for an artist, it's great to have multiple projects at once. Do you find that it helps you be more creative when you have multiple projects going on at once?
It helps, yeah, like having a lot of projects at once. It does get my foot into a lot of doors. And like I do have a lot of like different like eclectic stuff I do. In fact, I have a side project where I record covers of songs from Thomas the Tank Engine.
Really? Why that
And
show in particular?
that's kind of like the range of what I do, you know?
Wow, so you do a lot of different things. Why Thomas the Tank Engine?
Oh, well, you know, so I'm on the autism spectrum, and like, you know, I was a huge fan of Thomas the Tank Engine when I was a kid, and I don't think I ever really outgrew it. And the music in that show is really good. Like I don't know if you've ever heard like if you've ever saw the YouTube videos where they were analyzing the main theme of the show.
I'll check those out. No, I haven't.
Yeah, the music in the original series was done by Junior Campbell and Mike O'Donnell. Junior Campbell, who actually was in Marmalade in the '60s.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's incredible. That's fantastic. Well, it's great to pay tribute to the music you grew up with and to do lots of different projects. Describe your music. Now, I've listened to, we listened to both of your albums on Spotify, and there's such an eclectic mix of music on there. Tell us about your how you flow musically. How did you get to be such an eclectic composer?
I think the simple answer is that it's all rock, and like my favorite part about rock music is how diverse it really is. Like you can do like a hard rock song and then a new wave song and then a rockabilly song on the same album, and it would still be rock.
That is true, and there's just we've had how long with the first rock groups with the '60s, I guess the late '50s, early '60s, I guess doo-wop, right? And then rock grows and it's branched out into progressive rock. We have everything in between, and then hybrids with pop music, and it just keeps on going. And so there's limitless choices, right, artistically.
Yeah, I think my music, I think it's alternative, but it does have a bit of like a retro touch too. I can't help that. I love that kind of music. Like as modern and as hip as I try to make my music, a little bit of that classic rock influence bleeds through, but that's fine.
As a classical conductor myself, we always stand on the shoulders of giants, right? So when you listen to the music of the past, and with your father, you certainly grew up in music. It makes sense that you'd have an homage to some of your great artists that you love, included, like just organically into your own music.
We stand on the shoulders of giants. Yeah, that's right. I've heard that quote before, and I love it.
Isn't that the truth for any rock artist, though? We all have our inspirations and our heroes.
Yeah.
If you could jam with like a couple different rock artists, who would you, living or deceased, who would you love to jam with?
Well, actually, Carl Perkins just came to my mind. And like, you know, like I think everybody wants to jam with Carl Perkins, but like he said something that's kind of relevant to something you said just now. That that artists kind of take from and like innovate on things that have already been done. And Carl Perkins said that in his opinion, rock and roll is if like you take like a country song and just speed it up, like put it on crack or something.
That's a good one. I'll buy that. Yep, and especially the rockabilly and the country, like Leonard Skinner, and there's so much great country in music, and music and country kind of crosses over these days, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. Now, did you ever grow up with country music? You live out in Canada. There's a thriving country music scene there as well.
Actually, not really. I think the most country I think that my music taste leans into is like when it crosses over with rockabilly. But I do kind of I do enjoy bluegrass. It's like the really early recordings that Buddy Holly recorded with Bob Montgomery when they were Buddy and Bob. Like that was this before Buddy Holly and the Crickets. That was all bluegrass stuff.
Great music. Yeah, there's nothing like that bluegrass music. We had a really famous fiddler player on a couple of weeks ago, and we had so much fun talking about like crossing over from classical to learning fiddle, and then his own bluegrass music and taking that all over the world. I just love this kind of bluegrass and this kind of fusion with rock and roll. And you have such a unique kind of combination of stylistic elements. I thought that was really a neat conversation. And thank you for sharing about that you're on the spectrum. How do you advocate for musicians like yourself? How do you get the word out there about what's possible?
Well, I think with regards to musicians on the spectrum, there's a whole lot of us. In fact, I think there's more autistic musicians in the industry than one would think. I mean, I think you almost gotta be autistic to be like obsessed enough with music to pursue it, right?
That's a really good point. Yeah, you really do have to be obsessed to make a career in music, for sure.
Yeah.
And I had no idea, reading your bio and listening to your music, I had no idea that was the case. And thank you for sharing that. Really fascinating.
Thanks. Oh yeah. I don't know. Yeah, and speaking of myself being on the autism spectrum, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I play in a band with three other autistic musicians. Rowan Tafaha, who sings, she's the lead vocalist, and Ron Adea, he plays piano. Is second coming of Chopin, basically. He's really good. And Spencer Murray, who plays drums, and I play rhythm guitar and I sing and I write a few songs for the band. And yeah, we do like charity performances and stuff. And that's the whole gimmick. A bunch of the songs that we wrote are kind of based on our personal experiences as autistic adults, and yeah, there's the plug for that band.
And that band is called the ASD Band. And where did the title come from?
ASD Band is the acronym for Autism Spectrum Disorder. It is kind of on the nose, but I mean, I think that's a good thing.
I think it's a great thing, and I think it's amazing that you guys are building awareness of, especially for children who are coming up and seeing what people can do and how far we can achieve. And I think it gives people goals. I think it's so important to see people out there achieving.
Yeah, I think not just for autistic people, but with anybody, I think it's good to have things to be passionate about. And like if you're interested in music, you know, like I would recommend, you know, like get guitar lessons and whatever. And like and if it's really something that you're into, you'll and if you pursue it, you'll love it. So just do it, you know.
That's Nike. Just do it, right? Nike shoes.
Also, like Shia LaBeouf, just do it. Make your dreams come true.
I'm with you, my friend. That's nothing like getting into the music. And what are some of the challenges with being like an autistic musician? What are some of the challenges you faced and had to overcome?
Well, to be honest, I have really horrible organizational skills. So like I struggle to respond to emails in a timely manner. Like, you know, like I have to plan out my day. Like like I have a very specific routine that I do that if I deviate from, everything falls apart. And you know, it like, yeah. And telephone calls and podcast interviews kind of make me crap my pants.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but this is one where we're all friends. I'm an artist too, and I know I have such respect for artists because I just really love your work and fascinated to know your process, because that's why I love podcasts. I can really get into the process of people, and that fascinates me.
Oh yeah, I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, no, this is a very, I love artists. And when I find artists I like, I love to talk about their music and their art. And, it takes people behind the music when you listen to someone's music and get to know the people. I'm really fascinated by that myself.
Oh yeah, I agree. I'm a musician, and there's nothing, like there's really nothing more entertaining than listening to other musicians talk about music. It's a really weird, specific thing, you know.
We learn so much from each other. That's what's fascinating to me. Is some of these podcasts, I learn so much from the artists on here that it just gets me thinking about art myself, and I'm always questioning how art gets made, and the artists who make it. It's just such a limitless topic.
Oh yeah.
So take us into your process. When you write songs, do the chords come first, or the words come first, or does it change based on the song? Take us behind the shop. How do you put songs together?
It's kind of like multiple choice. It's different every time. Like sometimes I get lyrics first. Like, oh, that's a really good poetic sort of line. I have to write this down, and then I'll write a melody to it later. Sometimes I get melodies first. Sometimes I get changes first, and sometimes it's rhythm, you know. It all starts kind of different ways.
Yeah, it's interesting how when the muse strikes, it strikes in different ways. Do you keep like voice memos by your phone, or I know so a lot of people when they wake up they have an idea and they'll put it on their phone. I've heard that from a lot of different composers and songwriters. How does that work for you?
Oh yeah, all the time. I still got like 1,000 memos on my phone. Like, so I definitely got a few songs on the back burner.
Have you been playing a lot of live shows in the last couple of years?
Yeah. Well, with the ASD Band, we've been performing a lot because we recorded an EP that we're promoting.
I was just looking here on YouTube and I see thousands of views in that band. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's got to be exciting. How many songs did you write for that on that album?
So like I wrote about like half of the songs. I wrote Masquerade and Back Home. And then Rawan wrote her share of songs. She wrote Summertime Blues and not the Eddie Cochran song. This is different. And she wrote Broken and Fireflies, the track that the EP is named after. And Ron also dabbled in a bit of songwriting. He wrote Serenity. So I wrote 2 songs. Ron wrote 3 songs on the album, and Ron wrote 1 also.
How did you know that this band was going to work out when you got together and played? How long did it take to figure out that this was something special that would work?
Um, we'd been playing together for quite a while before we started writing songs. You know, like we did covers and stuff, and that and the first rehearsal that we did where we started writing songs together, like it almost kind of clicked immediately. It was
Oh.
really that fast.
What is it about like musical synchronicity? Sometimes you can get together. We talk a lot this often with Nashville singer-songwriters, and they have like it's almost like speed dating. They get together with songwriting partners and they write a song, and a lot of times it doesn't work, but then sometimes it clicks. What is it about that click? What do you think helps that click happen?
Um, I think it's like when all the musicians are in the same zone together, then like you know you can just like look at the other person and know what they're doing and vice versa.
Sometimes you just know, right? It just works, right? It just clicks the first time. And when was the first time you played a concert together live?
Oh yeah. That was we our first gig was at the Opera House in Toronto, which is a very strange place to have a first show.
I'm an opera guy. I expect to see La Boheme or Madame Butterfly, but
Yeah.
nothing like seeing a good rock band.
Oh yeah, it was a great venue. The acoustics were really good.
Man, so it's always interesting when bands come together for the first time. I love some of the stories. Any crazy stories from that night? That something you remember?
Everything kind of went. Oh yeah. So Opera House is kind of a really important venue in the Toronto music scene. Like a lot, like everybody who matters basically has played there. And so you know when guitar players are playing their set, sometimes they lose picks, and so I didn't come prepared with a pick that day. So the stage manager had a bunch of picks that belonged to these other guitar players from over the years, right? So I thought that was kind of cool, you know, I'm possibly playing the same guitar pick that like Kurt Cobain could have played, you know.
That's wild. You know, whenever you play different theaters, I love to sit in the dressing rooms. I was doing a tour. I was conducting an opera tour down in Florida, and I was in a dressing room, and Steve Vai had the same dressing room the night before. I'm like, how cool is that? I'm sleeping on the floor where Steve Vai was probably hanging out yesterday.
Mm.
We'd be
Oh,
on
yeah.
the road, and it
They
was
like like they leave stickers and stuff on the walls, like the band logo.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
You get to travel a lot and make music a lot of places.
Actually, yeah, funny you mentioned that. I just returned from Calgary about a week ago. Like another thing related to the ASD band.
Big crowds out there in Calgary. It must have been fun to travel.
Oh yeah.
That's fantastic. That's one of the exciting things about being a musician. You get to travel, get to meet new people, and play new venues. Do you get nervous when you perform? How have you conquered the nerves over the years?
When I perform, I do get nervous, but like it's more like the anticipatory anxiety of like that you're just waiting to get on stage. You know, it's like it's more like you it's more like I'm feeling like I just can't wait to get on, and I can't wait to start playing. You know, it's more like that kind of nerves. It's good nerves.
Yeah. So you have to channel that. My son's a drummer. I teach him you have to channel that kind of energy as you get up there, and everyone's got a different way of doing it, and some people really have like paralyzing fear of the stage, and it's we all have to learn how to take that kind of energy and turn that into positive.
I think one interesting thing that I heard somebody say is like the feeling of terror is basically just exactly the same as adrenaline. So I guess you can become excited if you remind yourself that you're just excited when you're feeling terrified, because it's adrenaline.
A very thin line between those two emotions. That's awesome. Oh, I tell you, once I start conducting, I don't even think about it. I just become the music and just kind of disappear into it, and it's all of a sudden it's over. I'm like, that was fun. Do it again.
Yeah, it always feels like it ends too soon.
Agreed, and that's why there's always more music to be made. So tell me about what it was like during the COVID period. I know Canada had incredibly long lockdowns. Did you see a break in your live performing while the COVID was raging?
I definitely did, yeah. Like I was just starting to like do more open mics because at around the time the pandemic started, I just released Keep It Dark, my first studio album, and so I was gonna go around and play at open mics and try to get a band together and whatnot. But I think the upside is though with the lockdowns is that it gave me more time to write and record. So
That is the silver lining, right? The silver lining, more time.
I wound up being more prolific. Yeah.
Do you do a lot of social media performing? Like a lot of people, I know a lot of bands are playing on social media or doing like live streaming performances. Was that something you engaged in?
Oh no, I haven't done any of that, but I don't know. Maybe perhaps I ought to.
Everyone's different with that, it's obviously not the same, right? How you when you hear a live audience and you feel the energy coming off, and I think that's galvanizing to me. When people are performing for a microphone, it's just not the same thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you're feeding off of the energy of the crowd, and that's what makes doing the Elvis impersonation so fun. It's like when it's kind of the thing when like a football player is playing football, and like the louder the crowd cheers, the harder they play, and I think it's the same thing with entertaining.
I think so too. I think there's something so innately exciting that it's kind of, we just get lost in that energy. It's nothing like it in the world.
Oh yeah.
After the COVID, the break and the pause and working on your music, what was it like to play your first concert back again?
It was like going from like AM to FM radio. It's like it was like waking up.
That's awesome. Where was your concert? Where was your first performance back?
It was an Elvis show that I did in Oshawa. Like the Regent Theater in Oshawa had like an outdoor venue during the summertime, and I did a set there, and it was an outdoor gig. Like the atmosphere was just right. Like everybody was happy to be there, and like it was a whole lot of fun.
There's nothing like getting back on that horse and getting back in there. Were you rusty at all vocally or guitar wise or piano wise?
Oh no, because I had all the time to practice.
So you were ready to rock and roll, get up there and start it up again. I did a couple operas after COVID, and the singers were all a little bit like, okay, let's get it, because they hadn't performed in a while. Like not they may have been singing and vocalized, but they haven't been performing. So we all got back together, and I was like, okay, could we still remember this? Okay, we're good. Just took a few kind of minutes to get our sea legs again.
Yeah.
Like what's wild about the COVID thing is like no matter if you were the biggest band in the world or you were an indie artist or playing in a coffee house, all of us had the same pause in our lives, and we all had to figure out how to make it work again.
Yeah. It kind of all forced us together, I guess.
I think we're all in that kind of same boat, and we've had to kind of come back on our own way. And it's exciting to hear all the plans and things you're working on now. Really, very exciting.
Yeah, and I think I'm just getting started too.
It sounds like it. You sound like you're really busy, and it's great. So you have a song you're going to play for us on the air. Tell us about this song.
Well, this song is from my newest LP record. This is called "Welcome to the Circus," and it's about, you know, like waking up on the wrong side of the bed, like, you know, like everything that could go wrong does go wrong, and, you know, it's like one of those things where it's not funny to you, but it's kind of hilarious to everyone else, you know. So yeah, this is "Welcome to the Circus," and it goes like this. Sleep through your alarm at 7 a.m. The sun isn't even out. At the end of the week, you just want to sleep and block out the grating sound. Get ready to face the world now. You're gonna walk out that door. You're in such a hurry, your cup of coffee's falling on the floor. Welcome to the circus. This is the main event. Welcome to the circus. The world's a big top 10. There's nothing to do but look on and see the chaos on display. So welcome to the circus. Your life has gone sideways. You hop on the bus and look for a seat, and all of the seats are full. The bus got a flat halfway down the street. It bounces and merciful. He said there are no excuses. We have to keep to the time. The bus isn't moving, the clock is ticking. Your life's on the line. Welcome to the circus. This is the main event. Welcome to the circus. The world's a big top 10. There's nothing to do but look on and see the chaos on display. So welcome to the circus. Your life has gone sideways. So welcome to the circus. Your life has gone sideways.
Thank you. I love that song. It's fantastic.
Thanks.
It's something we can thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You know, when did you write that? And tell us about how long it took to come up with a song like that.
I think I wrote that song, I want to say back in October. And I thought I'm a really big fan of like Billy Joel and like Elton John, like the kind of songs where you sing and play them on the piano. And I thought, I should do a song like that, you know.
I love it. That's fantastic. And now your music can be heard on all the streaming platforms. I heard on Spotify and YouTube and anywhere else I'm missing? SoundCloud, probably.
Oh yeah, I got SoundCloud.
What's it like? You know, you put your music out there on these digital platforms and it has a global reach. What's it like when people respond to your music?
Well, it really means a lot to me when people respond to my music and they tell me they enjoy it, because I'm still kind of a nobody. Like it doesn't happen very often. Like not a whole lot of people listen to my music, so I appreciate it very much when people reach out to me and sing my praises.
I think you're going to get used to that because, you know, your music's starting to make it. I think you're going to have a lot of that coming up because it's really interesting. I think you have a lot to say.
Thank you.
What do you have coming up? What was something are you working on? Any new LPs or new albums or new singles? Do you have things dropping soon?
I got a few new songs that I'm working on that I still got on the back burner that I still got to record. So yeah, I got some new tracks coming up, definitely. And also I've had to switch distributors. The distributor that I've been using to host my last 3 releases is closing its doors, so I actually have to re-release my back catalog. So yeah, my last 3 releases will be coming out again sometime this or next month.
And people can see all that on YouTube and Spotify. We'll look for that.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic. Make sure you check out this artist. And also, how about the ASD Band? What do you have coming out with ASD Band? Performances and any new recordings?
We're going to be performing at Massey Hall in November, and we're writing new songs too, and we're getting ready to record another EP.
It's exciting. So we'll watch out for that as well. So make sure you check out this fine artist who's doing some really great work, Jason D. Begley, up in Canada near Toronto. And thank you so much for joining us, Jackson. I wish you continued success.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And we'll be in touch, and I can't wait to hear as your new singles come out. Thank you so much for joining us on Music Matters with Jason Tramm. And please remember to subscribe and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on our upcoming guests and topics. Check out our past our archives library of all of our 182 past episodes at www.jasontram.net. Again, that's www.jasontram with 2 M's.net. Remember, keep music alive.